Excellent.
I'm here from Casa Grande, Miss Tara. Casa Grande, Arizona.
Ooh, Arizona. Cool.
Hi, this is Liz. I'm from Bullhead City, Arizona.
I'm from Ridgecrest, California.
Oh, awesome. I'm in California right now, too. All right. And you only see one of me because you also see my screen right now. Yay. All right. Excellent. So we will go ahead and get started. First, thank you all for coming. I know it's different times everywhere for everyone. And so we'll go ahead and jump right in. What we're looking at today is this really cool Office tool called Sway. And this session is called Sway This Way. A couple of things that we are going to look at is how you can use Sway to make some really dynamic presentations for your students. You can also make them for your faculty. You can also create templates in them, share them with students, and empower them to make digital portfolios. So we're going to do a lot of fun stuff here, and I've set up a couple of templates for you, so don't worry. So what Sway essentially is, well, first, how many of you have used Sway before? Okay. All right, so a couple of you, excellent. All right, so I'm gonna go over kind of the basics, but then also we're gonna have some time to do some hands-on practice with Sway, where you can take a template and remix it to the needs of your community. So it's gonna be awesome. So first off, this is what Sway looks like, okay? And so this is just a basic version of Sway that has different headings that break up the sections, and then you have your content below. What I really like about it is that it has this like way in which it moves where if this number 2 was longer, if it said like Wednesday, May 21st, then it would not show until it's scrolled to, which is really nice. The way in which you access Sway from within the Microsoft Office suite of tools, there's 3 different ways. The first way is that if you go into the app launcher, then you have Sway right over here, and that's notated by this teal colored S with the picture in the background, okay? And so when you click on that, that'll take you into Sway. Within that, you'll be able to see the different Sways that you have, as well as different templates that are available. Another way in which you can access, so what's really nice about Microsoft products is that if you type the name of the product followed by .office.com, then you can easily get to said product. Okay, so those are a couple of different ways that you can access Microsoft Sway. All right, so I see that hands are raised, but was that from my first question? Lower that hand. Okay, excellent. All right, so getting started with Sway. What Sway is? Sway is this way. Sway is this way. Get it? So Sway is this tool that you can use, and you can make really dynamic presentations with it. There's a couple of different ways in which you can get started. The first is to create something new from scratch. Another way is that you can start from a document. And what I really like about this start from document is that let's say that your students were doing PowerPoints for their digital portfolios at the end of the year, and they're putting everything together, and it's like, here's a slideshow. You can actually upload that into Sway and make it this really nice dynamic visual way of displaying student work. And we'll look more deeply at that today. Another thing that you could do is you can start from a template. And what I'll show you during this session is also how you can make your own templates. So there are a lot of different types of templates and different ways that you can go and explore and see what other educators have done in terms of lessons with sways. Okay, and then in the template, let's say that you find one that you like. You can go into that and right away it'll have this start editing the sway button, and you'll be able to start editing the sway, which is really nice. We'll get more into that in this session for sure. If at any point you have any questions, feel free to stop me and we'll answer questions throughout, and then we'll also have some time at the end. Okay. So just making sure. All right, excellent. If you're new, the way in which you find the chat, so if you're new to using Teams, or the Teams Meet, I should say, then the way in which you find the chat is it's just right to the left of the show participants. So it'll say show conversation. Okay. All right, so back over here to Sway. The first thing that I'm going to show you today, and Michael, you read my mind, is how to access or how to start from a document. Okay, so what you can actually do is, let's say that you have a PowerPoint that's downloaded on your computer. What you can do is when you upload that, and I already have this one pre-programmed, so you'll be able to see what it looks like in just a moment. Depending upon the size, it might take a little longer, so just be aware of that. Okay. All right, so while that's loading, I'm just going to go into another tab. You'll notice that it's still loading in the background, so I'm not losing anything. When you're in a Sway, what's really nice is that if it's depending upon what the share settings are on the Sway, you can actually go into, not there, but the 3 circles and then click on duplicate this Sway, and then it'll give you basically your own version of the Sway. It's almost like making a copy of it, you know, like if you were to take something to the copy machine and then change some things and then publish it again, then that's essentially what it's doing here when you duplicate this Sway. All right, now that I've talked through that, all right, so this is the PowerPoint upload, and what you'll notice right away with this is that it brings the images out because these images lived on slides by themselves. Okay, these headings here, it took directly from the slide and it turned it into its own heading on the page. You'll notice that as I scroll through, the images will appear where there are images. Okay, the setting gets a little awkward depending upon what the slide deck looked like before you uploaded it. But what's really neat is how, like, you see when I scroll, whoops, it's not going to do it now. When I scroll down, it kind of shoots out from the side when that heading comes out. So it's nice, it's friendly, it's visual. It's not like scrolling through like a static page. It's very dynamic. Okay. and how you would go in to change something like this. So if this was, say, a PowerPoint that you had uploaded, then once you upload that, you can go into the edit. Okay, and you have two different things here. You have design and you have storyline. Your design is what it looks like overall. So to edit anything on the design, you would go into styles. And when you go into styles, you get these different options here. What you'll see is that it goes from very simple to a bit more colorful and complex with different textures as you go down. This remix option up here, so one thing to note with Microsoft products in general is that there's always an undo button. So if you're like, oh, no, that doesn't look good, then you can always just click undo, okay? Another cool feature with Sway is that you can choose the way in which you play the Sway. So for example, when I go into play, I can then click on the gear here and change my layout to be something that scrolls up and down or something that scrolls from left to right. I can also control my animations if I have any animations that are built in, and I can have it start on a loop where it's kind of like a slideshow that automatically plays once a student hits play or once anybody hits play. Okay. All right, your other section here is the storyline. So with Sway, you want to think of your storyline as, well, just that, a storyline. So how are the different parts of the story broken up? Think of it as a story that has multiple chapters to it, and where each chapter, as you know, has a different title, a different heading, a different purpose. And so with Sway, you can create those different headings within the Sway platform. And what's really nice is that anything that you put under that heading will stick with it, so that, let's say that I go down here, forgot how big this slide deck was. All right, so what I can do really anywhere is click on the green plus, and when I add the heading, you'll notice that a new section is created. Now I can move this section around. I can make this go to the top. I can adjust it as needed. And I can put in here exactly what I want this section to be about. Okay, any questions on that? Am I going too fast?
I guess one question from me would be, what kind of documents can you do this uploading for? Is it just PowerPoint?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the best one is PowerPoint. If you're using something that isn't PowerPoint, but that does do a presentation style thing, then you can always download it as a PowerPoint and then just upload it right in. That's going to be the cleanest thing. Yeah, that's going to be really the best format in which you upload things, just because each slide within a PowerPoint has its own content on it, and it already has those headings that are separated. Okay. Does that answer your question, Michael?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay. All right, and I see that there's a hand up. Okay. So what we're going to look at now is I'm actually going to share this Sway with you. Okay, so we went over, there's a couple of really cool things that you can do with Sway, and we'll look at those, but I also want to give you a chance to have something that you're working on at the same time, if that's how you learn best. So the first thing that you can do is right over here, when I click on this, what it's going to do is expand the stack of images up into more of a full screen view. So these are the different ways in which you can access Sway. You click on your app launcher, you go to Sway, and you can do that. You can go to sway.office.com. You can also access it anytime that you see the app launcher. Sometimes it'll replace your window depending upon what you're working on. Other times it'll open up into a new window. Okay, so yes, since we're kind of quiet in the chat, I can copy and paste this over there.
I'm not sure if actually anyone's chat's working. I know mine isn't. I don't know if that's the same for everybody.
Okay, anybody want to come off mic? Let me know if your chat is working.
The chat's working fine.
Okay.
Okay, just must be for me.
Yeah. Normally, like if you're in a browser, what I would typically do is just, refresh, and then oftentimes it'll kick you out and you come right back in and yeah. Okay. So, and everybody can see my window, right? Or can you see my face twice? No.
Window and face.
Okay. Thank
Both.
you. All right. So I will post this in the chat. And I'll also make sure that you see it up here. So all right. This bit.ly dot here, bit.ly/sway this way SA, will take you to this particular sway. Okay, so this sway is just a basic session agenda sway, and there's a couple of cool things that you can do with it. Once you get it, if you click on the 3 circles and click on duplicate this sway, then I'll walk you through the inside and how you can customize those things for your setting. I would say give me a thumbs up if you're there. So if you can use the chat, give me a thumbs up once you got it. And Susie, I don't think that there were any entries during that time period. Yeah, there weren't any entries during that time period, so you didn't miss anything. Okay. Okay, perfect. Thank y'all for letting me know. All right, so once you have it, once you've duplicated it, remember that you duplicate it by clicking not the cog, but the 3 circles next to it. The cog changes your layout. The 3 circles is where you go to duplicate it. The share allows you to change the sharing settings. So one thing that I want to note is because all of you are outside of my organization, I chose the anyone with a link, okay? For your organization, like if you're doing something for students to see, so you're making like your weekly agenda, then you want to keep the sway to those in your organization potentially. Yeah, and then they'll be able to access it. Another thing that I want to quickly go over is this edit option here. So I had this one original idea was to have everybody in on a sway, but then after seeing some of the other sessions happen earlier last week, I was like, oh, having more than 10 people on a sway is not advisable, just because like who are actively editing on it, because it might end up like not loading for the people that are trying to edit, or it might bounce them out. So I've done a little bit of research, and 10 is the magic number when you're in there at the same time. Okay. Another thing, so if you have a sway that you wanted to embed somewhere, right? If your school, for example, had a full school website, and you wanted to put your Sway on it because your Sway had the remote learning plan for the week for the students, then you could get the embed code, or you could copy the link. And either way, the embed code will embed it on another website and then copy the link. It depends on how your school is set up. They could just use the link and put it on the site. What? Chat doesn't work on a Mac? I just sign into my Microsoft account to get the data. Yep. And so that's also correct. You will have to be in a Microsoft account in order to get the duplicate option, even though it is anyone with a link. If your account isn't linked to a Microsoft account, then you won't be able to duplicate. You'll be able to view, but not duplicate. All right, so because I own this one, I'm just going to go into the edit option. And actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to go back into Sway. What I'm going to do with this Sway, because I don't want to mess with my agenda, is I can actually, let me go back in one more time. I can actually go up here to the 3 circles and save this as a template. So if you're working on something, and let's say that this was your weekly agenda, I can rename this to weekly agenda and save, and it'll save it as a template so that I can always, whenever I'm making a new agenda, just go to the weekly agenda, start editing, and then voila. You'll also note that it changed that first title name right here. Okay, so it's one less thing that you have to worry about. And then what you could do from here is, let's say, so is anybody currently using Sway as a way to communicate with their students in terms of the weekly plan or anything like that? Okay. No? All right. What are
I use the Sway before for my students in doing their project presentation.
Oh, that's awesome. So,
Yeah.
and yeah, like, and how did you like it?
It's fantastic because students at first, they're having a hard time trying to, do the project, how they can explore to use this way. But when they were able to, master how to use this way, they loved it. Just like an alternative for PowerPoint, because I want them to use this way.
Yes. So, and are you elementary, secondary?
I was secondary, and
Yeah.
for 9th grade.
9th grade. Okay. So what's really cool with Sway is I'm going to be sharing with you, and actually you already have it. So when you went to go make a copy of this Sway, you actually, on that copy, you got the links that are already in the text card. So when you go, once you've duplicated it, you have all of the text links. So I'm not sharing one that students have made just because of student privacy, but I created this that you'll be able to use. Yay. So what you could do is, if this were your weekly agenda, you could, instead of calling this number 1, you could say that this is Monday, May 25th, 2020. And then what I like to do often is, whenever I know that I'm going to be repeating something, I copy it. And then even if I'm only repeating a little piece of it, then I just have to change all of 4 characters. Okay. All right, so I could keep doing that. Now, when I'm doing that, you'll see that what happens up here when I click on play is that now my agenda, my weekly agenda, has my days instead of number 1, number 2, number 3, so on and so forth. Another thing that you can do within Sway, so let's say on this one, I want to get rid of these extra image cards. Okay. And then what I can do is when I click on the green plus, I can add different things in. Whenever you want to add something in from any of the Microsoft suite of products, you want to do the upload or the embed option. When you can also do a slideshow, you can do a stack, which is the stack of photos that you're kind of flipping through as though you're flipping through a physical stack of photos. Then you have your different grids and automatic options here. You can also insert a video. So say that you made a teaching video that you wanted to put in, you could do that as well. What I also like is that, let's say that I wanted to add some type of media that it maybe is not something that I created. Whenever I open this up, I can go into my OneDrive, I can go into my device, I have all of these different options to be able to get different things from. So if I wanted, I could embed the PowerPoint into the Sway. And again, with the size of things, it takes a second, a few seconds. Okay, and then what's really nice, so I don't need this video card after all, is that when you click on play, that will insert there. But it inserted all of the pieces. So what I might want to do with the PowerPoint instead is embed the PowerPoint in. If I decide that there's a whole area that I want to get rid of things, then I can just click on the trash can and get rid of those things. Okay. Any questions so far about how the setup works? Actually, yeah, so the trash can there. Can students access without Microsoft accounts? So that's a great question. So you need some type of Microsoft account in order to access. And do you mean in terms of viewing or in terms of editing? Oh yeah, viewing anybody can access. Like if you make the settings, anybody with the link, then anybody with the link can access, and they don't have to be signed on. Another thing to note is that within the sharing, you can lock it down to specific people, and under the more options here, you can require a password to view the Sway. So almost like there's some other products out there where in order to get to like a class blog, for example, you have to put in a password. You can make that an option in Sway as well.
This is Liz. So can I use Sway, the link, if ever I use Sway, can I attach that in a Google Classroom or Google document?
To then like send them out?
Yes. Like
yes.
Where I would be assigned next school year, they don't use Microsoft, they use Google. So if I'll be using I'll be using Sway, can I use that when my students are using Google?
So that's a great question. And the answer is yes. And here's why. So like if you're going to other sessions, for example, where they talk about using HyperDocs and different things like that, that'll work across platforms, but the whole point is that they're hyperlinked. What you can do is when you're in a text card, so if I do the plus and then I click text, then I could have a link in here.
Okay.
And then, so if this, let's say I don't have a Google Doc on this site, but let's say that I wanted the schedule in, I can copy that in. Paste. And then right there, that already is hyperlinked. So if I want to go and preview that, then I would go under number 2, and schedule is hyperlinked. What I can also do for a couple of different text options is that I can emphasize the text. I can turn the text into its own heading. If I turn it into its own heading, then it looks like this.
Okay.
Yeah, just to say that my school is also a Google school, but I use Microsoft products all the time. So my Sway is a part of my my teaching. It's not a problem.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and Susie brings up a good point as well. Like Office 365 is free and they can log in with a Google email account. And I have a couple of different Microsoft accounts, but I have one that I'm in different teams with that is connected to a Gmail. So you can cross-pollinate with the 2 different account types. So yay, and it's free. Okay. Another thing that you can do, so within Sway, if you go into design and styles, what is really nice is that you can change the design, how it looks, and then when you go into customize, you can also customize your different font choices. So if you wanted something a bit more fun, you have those options in there. All right. Now, what you all came in here for. The student portfolios. Who in this group has their students using portfolios? Who in this group would like to have their students create portfolios?
Me.
Hey. All right, so what Sway is awesome for, it's that dynamic look. The students get empowered. One thing that I didn't show you, which I'll show you with this, so if you go back to this session, I think I edited this one, so it's not gonna look great, but if you were to go into the session and then grab this bit.ly, I will copy the link and paste it in the chat just in case. What that will do is that will take you to just a very simple version of a student portfolio. Again, because of student data, can't share like the full, here's their final. But what's really nice is you can modify the template however you want that fits within your learning environment, and then have the students duplicate that Sway to use as their portfolio. Excellent. So how you can modify this Sway. So there's a lot of different things that you can do. What you'll notice here, so I'll click play so you can see. So this has more of a busy background. It has the nice teal colors, the type font, and then it's very text heavy because what it's essentially doing is walking students through what they need to include in their portfolio. One nice little cheat here is that whenever you're putting an image in, if you put the word transparent with the name of the image that you're searching for, so let me show you that in action. So let's do a new one down here, and I'll say a new heading. And let's say that my school is a music school, so all the students take music. Excellent. Then I can do music. Let's say I want to put an image. If I search for music transparent or musical notes, that might have been better than music. Well, maybe not. Here's some. Musical notes. Then what'll happen, because what you're searching for, if you have the box checked for Creative Commons only, then those are the only type of images that'll come up, which is really nice. So then when I find an image that I like, I click on that image. You'll note here that there's a check mark. That means that it's selected. This green add button is talking to whatever is outlined in green. Then when I click on add, that'll add the image in. So now when I go and play, I can scroll down and see that this is a transparent image of music. Okay. Couple of other features of this template for a portfolio is that there are text boxes throughout, and the text boxes use bullets, which is really nice. So, you know, if you're doing paragraph text, then ideally the paragraph text is not explaining a process. It could be telling a story, right? But when you explain a process, it's nice to break it down into easy steps that somebody can quickly see and then be able to replicate. And so that's why when you're making a text card, if you use the numbering or the bulleted system up here, then that breaks it down and makes it easier to understand. And then another thing that you could do is you could create a hyperlink to an outside source. So this is kind of where your hyperdocs comes into play, where you're hyperlinking to one thing to another, to another, to another, using that hyperlink option. When you're laying out a template for a portfolio using Sway, you can decide how much you want to control it and how much you want students to control it. Maybe you don't want them to change the format at all or the images. You just want them to upload their content and keep everything else the same. You can say that up here. Otherwise, you know, give them the basics of you need this many examples of this type of work as well as an explanation, and let them go and remind them of what that type of work looks like. So was there a personal narrative that they worked on? Was there a poem that they wrote? Was there a graphic organizer that they made for a character analysis project? So think about those things that you've done with your student. And if you just teach one subject, well, that subject is broken up into like different aspects, right? So even if it's science, you know, what about this physics experiment or that physics experiment? It's a hard word to say fast. What they can do is basically the same thing as to what you can do. And what's really nice about this is that, let's say that you wanted the students to add an image. Over here, when you click on suggested, they can also get the image from their device. They can get it from within OneDrive. They can get it from within Flickr. You can upload really anything into the Sway. So it doesn't matter what format it was created in, it could still be uploaded and shown as their proof of learning. Okay. Any questions on that?
Not really a question, but I was also thinking about a bit of app smashing. So the way I use Sway is that they do the student portfolios and then they can actually embed them in Wakelets. So that way you have the students, well, you can curate all the Sways for that particular class in one particular place. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And so Michael, like you were talking about Wakelet before, it can either, like, you can put the Sway in Wakelet or you can put the Wakelet in Sway. So there's a lot of different embedding options when it comes to really all platforms. Okay. Now, let's say that you had a card that you wanted in a different place. All you have to do is, you see when I move my mouse around, it goes from the cursor to the four arrows. I can click, hold, and drag that and move that to another location within that heading. Okay. So, what things are you thinking of when it comes to Sway and digital portfolios and using them with your students? What things come to mind?
Hi, this is Liz again. I'm just curious. I don't know if you already talked about this. How do we save it?
Yes. Okay, so the saving, like it's really pretty automatic. I know that that's hard to like swallow sometimes because we're like, wait a minute, where's the save button? But it saves your changes as it's making it, which is really nice. What you can also do is that, so when you go to the three circles, you have your save as template. But what I typically do, like anytime that I make a change, I play it. And I play it just to see what the change would look like. And that change is automatically saved, okay? To get back to it, so anytime that you click on the word sway, it'll take you back into your gallery of your sways. And what's really cool within this gallery is that you can view the analytics of the sways. So for example, right here, I see that 23 people have viewed the Sway This Way session agenda, and I see that 13 have viewed the student portfolio. Okay, those were 2 that were shared during the session. That's about the same as the session numbers, and so that makes sense. I can also go into viewed. I can go into analytics, and I can see how long people were spending on each one. And this was before they did the duplicate, because once they do the duplicate, then it's duplicated. Okay, what I can, when I'm creating one of these and I want it to be the template that students use, then my process for that would be, when I go into the Sway, I need to make sure that my settings are correct. Okay, so when I go into my share, I want to make sure that either anyone with a link or those in your organization with a link and the view option is selected. This is where I can also go and require a password, and I could put the password in and say who the password is required for. If your students are working on a collaborative Sway, this is also a really great way in which you can empower students to make their own kind of safe spaces to collaborate with their group and still be able to share the view rights to others, but not the edit rights. Okay, so then what I would essentially do is when I copy this link, and if I were on a student account, which I could change my sharing, but it works kind of in the same way, then let's get back into this. And you can either get that share link or you could get the link directly, so long as your settings are set up correctly. Okay, and then from here, the student would just do 3 circles, duplicate this Sway, and when they duplicate this Sway, they would get a copy of it. They would change their name on it, of course. So this is Tara's portfolio, and then duplicate. And then that Sway will be in their total list of Sways. So automatic saving, automatic updating. It's a very automatic friendly system. Good question though. All right. The last little area down here that I wanted to share was some really cool lessons from the Microsoft educator community. And when you go in here, you can see how different sways were made. So anytime that you see a sway, you just click on the 3 circles, duplicate this sway, and you can essentially see the inside of how it works and then modify it to fit your needs. Okay. And this is really nice because this is clearly made for younger students, and in doing so, you know, it's more user-friendly from that point. Has the nice dark background with the nice lighter text box. Okay. All right. Any other questions?
Actually, I do have a question then. Grouping. So how does grouping work in this way?
Oh yeah. So grouping. So Kelsey, I'll rethrow the sway link in here, and then Michael, I'll answer your question. Where did I put that link? Oh yeah, thank you, Nia, if that's how you say your name, I hope. Okay, so with grouping, how that works, and let me go into the student portfolio here, and then we'll edit in here. And actually, all right, so let's call this grouping activity. So how that would work is it depends on how you want things to be shown. So stack is the one that is where you stack pictures on top of each other. The grouping is anything from this slideshow here to, in this example, we saw some comparison things here. Okay. So how that works is that you have your different images here. Let's see if I have any. I can search. So okay, for the sake of time, I'll just get one from the internet here. Okay, and then I can add a caption if I want. Your captions work a little differently. Okay, and then when you play this, your grouping works so that you see part of each image, and then when you click on it, it'll give you the option to be able to scroll through the images. So how this is different from the stack option is that with this particular option, with the group comparison, it's more of a side-by-side versus stack. It's on top of each other, and so it's rotating or it's flipping as you're clicking on each one. Another option So you also have a grid option here. And you can have different content here, 4 different types of content. So let's say that I want that, and I can choose multiple things too. Okay, and then when I play this, the reason why these are on top of each other is because I don't have anything separating them, right? So right here, I go straight from a group comparison to a group grid. If I wanted to differentiate that up a bit, then what I could do is add a heading. So compared to, and then I can move that heading up. Yep, and now that actually went into the wrong place. So compare 4. Okay. And okay, so because of the way in which I'm viewing it, where I scroll to the side instead of up and down, I can then view my grouped objects either in a vertical or in a horizontal view mode. Okay, and then to separate those, of course, you want to make sure that you have your heading. Your heading will separate your different groups, and then you can move things into your heading or take things out of your heading to make it the look and feel that you are going for. All right. Can you make different boxes animate? Yes, but I'm afraid we're not going to have time to get into that right now. But you can insert GIFs, and you can have things that animate within. So if you go into your media option or your group option, if you were to do a slideshow, for example. So for your slideshow, the animation, so what animation is technically is like a lot of frames, right, that change as you click through them really quickly. And so what you could do here is have those different frames in here and then turn that into a slideshow. And then when you go into your share, you can, or sorry, when you go into your play, you can have some loopage going in there. So have it loop continuously, and then as it is scrolling through, then students will be able to see that. All right, any other questions? These are good questions. Yeah, there's a lot that you can do, like with the stack option. You know, you could have it so that it's stacking and it's flipping through. You can have the automatic here. Okay, so you're right. There are a lot of different things in which you can do. And whenever you click on the group type, this will kind of give you a little preview as to what those different things look like. So even like more dynamic within the slideshow, you have different options. Ooh, Andrea, great question. So Andrea's question is, has anyone used Sway in K5? I've used it with 6 through 8. My advice, but I have worked a lot with K through 5, and so what my advice would be with that is that have the template already made for them so that they're not going in from scratch. You know, use something like the student portfolio example, customize it, and then maybe like with distance learning, maybe make some videos showing them how to do some of the different adding of like images, the inserting of their work, and things of that nature. Yeah, but definitely like for the younger kids, and especially with remote learning going on, making it more of a scaffolded activity where like they do less of the design and more of the creation, right? Like having them so focused that they're focused on what is the content that needs to be on here, and then how do I want to make it look? So laying out those things, because they could spend a long time just designing and not have any content. And we know how that goes. Yeah, Mandy, you're totally right. Like having this as a hyperdoc where like they're going to different things, or having, you could embed hyperdocs on it and it would keep on sending them out and things like that. Because sometimes one thing about a hyperdoc is like it's hyper, right? And so you're going here and here and here and here and here. But if you had a weekly agenda that was all on a Sway, then you just say, okay, what am I doing on Monday? Here's my list. Tuesday, my list. Wednesday, my list. And then it makes it so much cleaner for students because they have everything there and they can see it and they can see what the future is going to look like if you plan that far out with your students. All right, for our last 2 minutes here, any questions? All right, excellent. Well, I know y'all are all over the world, so I hesitate to say have a great night. Have a great day, night, evening, morning, whatever the time is for you. All right, thanks, y'all, and I'll stick around in case y'all have any questions. Awesome, thanks, y'all. Yay for learning something new.
Thanks, Miss Tara.
Yeah, definitely.
I learned something.
Yeah. Do you want to share what you learned?
The portfolio, then also the different uses of those 3 dots, because I haven't explored those things. I only ask my students, okay, to turn in your assignments, just get the link and turn it to me using the Blackboard. So now I can add more information to that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Thank you. Those
You're
3
so
little dots that help a lot.
Yes. The 3 three dots, like that's the thing that I love about Microsoft products. Like it's always going to be, almost always going to be the same looking thing. So the three dots, that's where it's at. And then if you want to get to the thing, you go to the app launcher. But if you want to do stuff with it, it's the three dots.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Tara.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right.